Hi everyone, welcome back. Fishwife here. We're going to talk about skill gain. So I've gone back to my paper doll, clicked on the skills button, pulled up my skill scroll here that shows me where all my skills are at. And like I said before, some skills raise passively and some skills raise actively, but you always have to be doing something specific to raise those skills. So for example, swordsmanship, so you want to use a sword, swing it around, slash some zombies with it. You're going to want to, that's going to raise your swordsmanship skill, but it's not an active skill, like as in you don't have to use the skill swordsmanship. You just have to start attacking stuff with your sword, and it'll raise a skill. Now, some skills are active skills, like begging here. So if you want to make a little bit of money easily, you can just go up to NPCs. You click the blue jewel next to begging. It'll give you a target cursor, and you just click on the NPC that you want to beg from. And then I get a response back on the bottom left hand of my screen down here. It says they seem unwilling to give you any money. So I have 0.2 skill in begging, so I don't have a very good chance of getting any money from this person. But as your skill increases, you're going to succeed more often, and in terms of crafting type skills like blacksmithy, you're going to be able to create more advanced weapons, higher quality weapons, things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, that's how skills are raised, just by using them. Another way you can raise skill at the very beginning, say you're at 0 or 10 or 20 skill and you want to raise it up pretty quickly, and you have a little bit of extra gold, you can actually just go to the equivalent NPC. So, for example, say I want to raise my archery because I decide I don't like my sword. Then I just come to the archery NPC, I click on them, and then I click train archery. You can see it's grayed out here because I'm already a grandmaster archer. But you click archery, and it'll say they can teach you archery for X amount of gold coins. And so let me just do this with the wrestling real quick. So I'll click. It says train wrestling, and most NPCs can train wrestling because most NPCs are apparently skilled in unarmed combat. So you click train wrestling. My skill cap is max. Okay, so to say I can train you in wrestling for X amount of gold. For less gold, I will teach you less. So it'll say maybe 218 gold. So you just click and drag 218 gold onto the NPC, and they'll up your skill in wrestling to several points, up into the mid 30s usually. So that's a good place to start when you're trying to gain in a new skill area where you don't have any skill and you don't want to create a new character. So that's how I suggest you do that. Now, another thing to keep in mind is like I said, I just mentioned the skill cap. 700 skill points is the skill cap. So we'll go down to my personalized group down here at Note. So as you can see, I've maxed out 7 skills. One I've even gone over a little bit, but I've maxed out 7 skills. Now I'll go in how you can go over skills in another video, but it's not something you need to know about right away. But keep that in mind. So you can't max out all the skills. There aren't necessarily templates, but some players have figured out some of the most efficient ways to make some characters. So you can always look that up online. The last thing I wanted to cover is if you double click on your little status UI here, it'll pull up your in-depth status. And we talked about stats earlier: your strength, your dexterity, your intelligence. So when you first start, the highest you can get any skill is at 60. But say you want to raise it more. Well, the way you raise it is by raising the equivalent skills. So if I want to increase my intelligence, I would use an intelligence based skill. So a great one is Spirit Speak. Spirit Speak is a skill that you use to try and communicate with dead players that are ghosts. And I'll explain kind of what ghosts are, kind of in a future video if you haven't experienced it yet. So you would just find the Spirit Speak skill. You'd make sure the arrow's going up. You'd click the blue gem next to it, and you just keep clicking like every few seconds to use the skill, and it would eventually raise your intelligence stat. Or as your swordsmanship increases, your strength is going to increase because it's a strength-based skill. Dexterity, a great thing for that is a skill called snooping, which is not an active skill. It's just a passive skill that is raised when you do a specific thing, which is looking at other players' backpacks. So let me show you what snooping is. So you just come up to this NPC, I double click him, I get his paper doll for double clicking him, his backpack's right here, I'm standing close by, and I just double click his backpack, and it says I failed to peek into the container because I don't have any skill in peeking. But you can look into other players' backpacks, and that's the first step in thieving, because you can see in their backpack, and then you can snatch things out of it. And I'll go into another video about thieving, but I just wanted to show, like, that's a dexterity-based skill, so the more you raise that, the more you use that skill, the more it's going to raise your dexterity. And remember, there's 225 skill point cap, so make sure you're aware of that. Strength is directly related to weight and hit points. Dexterity is directly related to related to how much stamina you have, and mana is directly related to how much your mana pool is. So keep all that in mind. We're going to end it there. Cut it off while we're ahead, and I'll see you in the next video.